Femme, j'espère que vous allez bien, moi ça par la grâce de Dieu. Je suis comme ça en train d'aller à l'école. Mais je pense que le professeur ne va pas venir aujourd'hui. Donc je retourne à la maison. Je pars à l'école, c'est bon. Je ne retourne pas.
The Most Deadly Disease Part 1. The Kuru, also known as the Cannibals disease, is a non-curable disease with 100% fatality rate. It was discovered in 1950s from the cannibal tribes of Papua New Guinea. They got it by eating human brains infected with prions. These prions particles are nearly indestructible. They can't be destroyed by boiling, alcohol, acid, or radiation. In fact, infected brains submerged in formaldehyde for decades are found to be still infectious. Kuru has a long incubation period that could take years or even decades, but once the symptom occurs, the individual would only last to about a year. These last few months would be a life of painful struggle, as they would lose the ability to stand, speak, eat, eventually leading to coma, then death. The person infected were usually taken care of by their family until they inevitably die. The only way to avoid Kuru is by not eating human meat, especially the brains.
Did you know in the Book of Eli, the cannibal's hands shake, and characters continuously check newcomers to check for this? It's assumed that anyone that eats another human will begin shaking, but it is actually because they suffer from a disease called Kuru disease. This is caused by eating human brains and spinal columns. The first sign comes as shaking limbs, and this is why they keep checking people for the shakes.
Shalom. All praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh Bahasham, Yahweh Shai Bahasham, Rachakodash, Yahweh being the name of the Heavenly Father, the Holy One of Israel, whom this world ignorantly calls God, in the name of his only begotten Son, Yahweh Shai, whom this world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ, in the name of the Holy Spirit, double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone who rule well, and peace and mercy to the hopeful elect, the 144,000 those men that are doing this work in sincerity and in truth across the four corners of the earth. And much love to the 1/3 and you innumerable multitude of you believers out there. To you all I say shalom and greetings, and I pray, Lord willing, this lesson is edifying through the Spirit. All right, I'm pretty sure I would have shown one or two clips prior to putting this up. And the first one was sent by a brother in the camp. And basically, the guy was being chased by what was stated as a cannibal. You know, and just to have that mentality, right? A guy that's wanting to eat you is diabolical. You know, it's something, a spirit that's different than like of a lion that's trying to take you, right? It's like if you trying to get away from a lion, like you get why it's like that. You understand it. You know, if it gets you, it's going to ravish you, it's going to destroy you. But when you get a cannibal, you really don't know all of the potential dangers, you know. You know he wants to eat you, right? You know it's frightening, right? But you don't know the severity of what he'll do to you. And that reminds me of two movies. The first one is The Road, right? And, you know, the apostles always talk about The Road. The Road was, you know, a movie about apocalyptic type stuff, end of the world. And they had these Edomites who had a home, and basically they had like 7 or 10 people in the basement locked up somewhere. And what they would do is they would cut a limb off of them, but preserve them alive so that they can eat them later. You know, they don't have to worry about freezing it or preserving it. They just keep the people locked up. And that was a very, like, iconic, weird, and eerie scene, you know? And then I'm about to get to why this came out in the first place. And then you have, you know, of course, Book of Eli. You know, that bitch said, I'm going to rustle you up some sandwiches. You know, but the bitch was eating human meat, you know? And then you had on Walking Dead, there was an episode where they were cannibals and they were eating a guy, and you know they said he ended up telling them that he had been bitten by a zombie, so they were eating tainted meat. You know what I'm saying? And that scene was kind of funny. But you know, this is the reason why I'm talking about this is obviously for obvious reasons, the end of days. But one of the brothers in the camp, the brother Iwalum, he said I be wondering how the hell do cannibals just go day to day without getting sick. He said it's got to be a disease that comes from eating other people. So, you know, I end up saying to him, like, basically, like, I think it's like some kind of enzyme that gets released that messes with their nerves. But I was like, let me look it up, you know. And so I looked up, I forget the sources, but I found this one part that says in Papua New Guinea, until about 50 years ago, it was seen as custom for one group of people, the four, to eat their loved ones once they die. As a result of eating human tissue, many people develop so-called kuru or koru or laughing disease. This disease is due to a twisted protein in human flesh called prions that can't be killed with heat. It's called prions or prions. Prions kill nerve cells in the brain, leaving the brain full of holes like a sponge. You know, so it leaves holes like a sponge, man. And you know your brain can't last much long. That's why, like, on Book of Eli, they would say, let me see the hands. And she was shaking the cup. You know, it's because their nerves ain't right no more. You're right? It's messing with the chemical makeup, the genetic makeup of your body. Right? And then they showed this other one with Kuru disease about look like Hamites over there. You know, but shit's gonna get crazy, man. You know, so basically we was just expounding on the point that that's a real thing. So these people are really gonna be out here like that. You know, so I had some verses that I wanted to get. And I'm gonna get the first one in the NLT, the KJV and then the NLT. Right? This is Isaiah 9 and verse 20. It says, actually, let me start at verse 19. It's Isaiah 19 and 19. Through the wrath of the Lord of hosts is the land darkened, and the people shall be as the fuel of the fire. No man shall spare his brother. Right? So the people are going to be as fuel for the fire because thermonuclear missiles are coming to destroy America. Right? But people are going to, it says no man shall spare his brother. And that's talking about people in the world. They're not going to care about it. They're going to be fighting against each other, harming each other, unaliving one another, right? Eating one another. Going on, it says, and he shall snatch on the right hand, and he shall be hungry. And he shall eat on the left hand, and they shall not be satisfied. They shall eat every man the flesh of his own arm. You see, so nothing is going to satisfy these people. They're going to constantly be hungry. They're going to want more and more, right? And so I got this one in the NLT as well. Forgive me. This is Isaiah 9 and 20 in the NLT. It says, they will attack their neighbor on the right, but will still be hungry. They will devour their neighbor on the left, but will not be satisfied. In the end, they will even eat their own children. You see? So that's what's going to come to these people in America. They're going to be having Kuru disease, right? Running around, eating one another, having shaky hands, having sponge-like brains. And, you know, what was that? Oh, you know, they had this. And now this reminds me, for anybody who hasn't seen it, a good movie to watch is Society on the Snow on Netflix. Society on the Snow. And man, shit gets weird and creepy. But I'm going to just say, them people, I'm like, they'll be destroyed for the rest of their lives. I'm going to leave it at that. Their lives will never be the same again. And I knew that. And I was even trying to explain that to my brother. And he just couldn't conceptualize it. But it is what it is. You know, let me get back to these precepts. You know, I couldn't tell my brother, you know, exactly how I felt about it. But nonetheless, this is Lamentations 4 and 10. Actually, this really starts at 9. So I took a picture of 10. But let me go to this. The book of Lamentations. All right. Lamentations, chapter 4. And it really starts at the 9th verse. It says, they that be slain with the sword are better than they that be slain with hunger. For these pine away, stricken through for the want of the fruits of the field. You see, so if you die by the sword, it's better to die than it is to die by not being able to eat, pining away, right, from hunger. It says, the hands of the pitiful women have sodden their own children. They were their meat in the destruction of the daughter of my people. And so these things were happening back in Jerusalem. These things were happening back in different places of the earth. These places were happening when we were besieged, different things like this. But it says the hands of the pitiful women, right? Because you would think a woman in her right mind, no matter how bad it gets, she wouldn't eat her child. But we live in a time when these pitiful women are back again. So they're going to be doing the same things again, right? It says, the irony is they've claimed that they love their children. That's the claim to fame for a woman. Even though this curse says that they shall hate the child that cometh out between their feet, right? But these women claim to be God-fearing, child-loving women. But we know really they hate the Most High, and they really envy or hate their children, And so it says they have sodden. Their sodden means to boil. So they were boiling and eating their children. They were their meat in the destruction of the daughter of my people. So when Jake was getting bad and it was getting bad, they would just boil them, eat them, right? And do what they had to do. And the Lord gave us an example of that in the scripture. So it's not something that's made up. Okay? This is 2 Kings 6:24. It says, and it came to pass after this that Ben-Hadad, king of Syria, gathered all his hosts and went up and besieged Samaria. And so when we saying these people gonna be running around, their hands gonna be shaking, this is real deal Holyfield, man. These women, don't be surprised if more women are shaking more than men, because women are gonna be the first ones to eat their children. The scriptures tell us that. All right. A man is going to do everything he absolutely can before he eat his child. A man will probably cut off his damn arm and give it to the child to eat of him before he eat his own child. But women are weak like that. I even remember, I be throwing the movies out there. Now this is one. They got One Piece, the movie, right? The series. It's about this guy named Luffy who has special abilities. All right, it really stems from an anime. But on there's this one episode was really good. But basically, it was a guy who had a child with him, stranded on a rock. It was like an island, but it basically a high rock in the water, and it was nothing they could do. They had to do nothing but wait for a boat to come and save them. And so he had two bags. He had one bag that was full of food, right? But he thought that the child thought he had two bags. And the child was like, I want your bag. Give me your bag. He said, why should you get the big one? He was like, because I'm 4 times your size. That's why I'm getting the bigger bag. So he gave the child the bag with all the food. Basically, the child ran through all the food. He told him, he said, go to your side of the island and don't come back over here until you see a boat. So basically, the child was getting back, running out of food, right? And he came back to see if he could get more food, being jealous of the older man the whole time. Turns out the man had a bag full of silver and gold and crowns. And he had no food this entire time. So what he did was he ate his own leg to try to stay alive, which is wicked. At the end of the day, bro, you're just going to have to die, You should have just jumped off the damn cliff, hit the rocks, or died out up there, or tried to get some fish. Turn all them damn coins and some clothes into something to reel down and get something out the water. He could have did something like that, but he had his own legs. So we faced even though I don't believe the Lord ever put us in a situation, because he said we gonna eat. But if you ever face in a situation like that, you just have to perish, right? But the point was the sacrifice that he was willing to make, right? The cannibalism part was off, but the sacrifice was saying that he was willing to give his life for the boy and let him live with all of the food rather than take the food for himself and then worry about the child eating, right? But going back to 2 Kings 6:25, it says, there was a great famine in Samaria, and behold, they besieged it until an ass's head was sold for 80 pieces of silver, and the fourth of part of a cab of dove's dung for 5 pieces of silver. So you were selling donkey heads, you were selling feces that had food in them, right? It says, and as the king of Israel was passing by upon the wall, there cried a woman unto him, saying, Help, help, my lord, O king. And he said, If the Lord do not help thee, whence shall I help thee? Out of the barn floor or out of the winepress? He's like, if the Lord ain't going to help you out your situation, what am I going to do about it? He says, and the king said unto her, What aileth thee? What's your problem? And she answered, This woman said unto me, Give thy son that we may eat him today, and we will eat my son tomorrow. So, and see, that's just wicked, that statement alone. But she goes on to say, So we boiled my son and did eat him. And mind you, this is Sodden, Soddn. So they put her child in sod. They boiled their son. So we boiled my son and did eat him. And see, the fact that she let her finesse her like that, she yikwabbed her. It says, And I said unto her on the next day, Give thy son that we may eat him. And she had hid her son. And it came to pass when the king heard the words of the woman that he rent his clothes, and he passed by upon the wall, and the people looked, and behold, he had sackcloth within upon his flesh. Then he said, The Most High do so more also to me, if the head of Elisha the son of Shaphat shall stand on him this day. So, ultimately the point is that the woman was willing to eat. They were both willing to eat her child. And that's what a lot of them are going to be doing in these last days. So be prepared for it. Okay? And I want to get this one in NLT just to see what it says, because it may not be exact, but, let's see what it says. This is Ecclesiastes 4. Yeah. This is not necessarily talking about cannibalism, but it still is the point. Ecclesiastes 4 and 5. The fool foldeth his hands together and eateth his own flesh. Right? But it says in NLT, fools fold their idle hands, leading them to ruin. Right? So eating your own flesh is basically you destroying yourself. That's a parable, an example of saying you're destroying yourself. But fools are going to actually be doing that. They show in that book of Eli, some of them were nibbling on their own fingers, to try to stay alive. That's why he said, it's another reason, show me your hands. You see how they eat on their fingers and if they shake. Right? This is 2 Ezra 15 to 58. They that be in the mountains shall die of hunger, and eat of their own flesh and drink their own blood, for very hunger of bread and thirst of water. So this one is literal. People are going to they're going to actually die of hunger. They're actually going to eat their own flesh, and they're going to drink their actual own blood just to try to stay alive. It says for very hunger of bread and thirst of water. That's what they're going to do to try to stay alive. Right? And that we're going to see things like that. We're going to see people acting this way. All right? And you just got to be prepared for it. This is Baruch 2, and I'm going to start at 1. It says, Therefore the Lord hath made good his word, which he pronounced against us, and against our judges that judged Israel, and against our kings, and against our princes, and against the men of Israel and Judah. Right? The Lord, he did make good his word. He said he was going to curse us. He was going to jack us up. He was going to put plagues on us. All these things came to pass. It says to bring upon us great plagues, such as never happened under the whole heaven. Yep. Look at our people enslaved, getting jacked up by the Edomites. Under the whole heavens, nothing been like unto Jerusalem. It says, as it came to pass in Jerusalem, according to the things that were written in the law of Moses, that a man should eat the flesh of his own son and the flesh of his own daughter. So we're going to be seeing men that are going to be eating their children. We're going to be seeing women that are going to eat their children. These things are going to come to pass in these latter days. Okay? So this is why you got to understand the times that we're living in, where cannibalism can be a very actual deal. So dudes that's chasing them like that, hey man, at this point, it's like, unless it's a group of their ass, I ain't running from that nigga. It's like, hey bro, we gonna have to square this thing out. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna murk your ass. Lord willing, Lord deliver you into my hands, or I'm gonna need some spiritual powers, because I'm about to be running from this fucking dude unless it's just fucking 10 of them out there and you see they trying to eat you alive, man. But that's a cold, deadly, wicked spirit to want to eat another human being, and that you becoming in a terrible situation where you want to go and eat another human. You like, hey, I don't want to kill none of the animals. I want this human flesh. And like I told my brother, I said, hey, they have a taste for human meat now. So they can say whatever they want, but when you taste different meat, you know, it puts something on your spirit. You know, before the truth, I wasn't eating lamb and goat. But now, man, it's like I just get that craving. I'm like, man, I need some lamb. I need some goat. So the same thing as these people are going to do with human flesh. They taste a bit of human. I'm like, hey, man, you know, that human was good. And I had it in bad condition. Imagine if I cooked it. Or imagine if I had some season. You know, that's how these people are going to be thinking, man. The Esau already eat people. Let's be real. The so-called white nation are already cannibals. They'll eat raw meat. They eat raw steak with blood in it. They do adrenochrome. They drink blood from children. They eat children. They put it in food. People are already cannibals. Wait until they know actually what's going on, man. Soylent Green. You know? That you could watch that movie, man. But hey, Lord willing, I pray this is edifying. Lord willing, Lord, feed us and give us what we need. And stay away from these demonic people in the times to come, because it's about to get real in Babylon, and people have no clue that even cannibalism is on that list of their demise. So I pray, Lord willing, this lesson is edifying. I want to give all the praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh Bahasham, Yahweh Shai Bahasham, Rachakodash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone who rule well, and peace and mercy to the elect. Until next time, Shalom.